Good morning. You're watching DeProgram with Ted Rall and Jamarl Thomas. It is Thursday, July 9th, 2026. Thanks so much for tuning in. We're here live on YouTube and Rumble in the 9 o'clock hour, Monday through Friday. But of course, obviously, you can watch anytime. By the way, RIP Bonnie Tyler, who, according to the American news outlets, was either 75 or 76 years old, and she just died. She was total eclipse of the heart. Anyway.
That's who made that song?
That's her. That was her best known.
God, man, rock stars get old and die. That feels wrong.
Yeah.
It just feels wrong. Aurora, she's a singer. She is incandescent. And the idea that she is going to grow old and die is just something.
But on the other hand, but it really is, the cliche really is true. I mean, my shelves are loaded with albums and CDs by people who are either very old and will die soon or have died. And they're immortal. You put that on and it's as if they were in that recording studio today recording that. I mean, it is a form of immortality.
It is.
Even more than the film, I think, because I don't know, if you know, super young people, but people who are 15, 25, they have a hard time slowing down and watching the more measured pace of an older film, from the 50s. And I'm just slow down, listen. But people who are, but music somehow doesn't have that effect. The young people will still get into music that's 100 years old. It's okay.
Yeah. Well, because it's relevant. It never, the relevance of it stays the same. The things that they're singing about is going to be basically the same. I mean, sure, they may say, hey, I have my pager these days. Or they may say, I texted somebody. Maybe they may add in things that are temporal colloquialisms. True. But that doesn't necessarily, but the context of it changes. Even if you're looking at movies, right? If you're looking at a space movie in the 40s or a movie, the topics are going to be similar, even if the themes change, because human condition is what it is. It's the human condition. Even if you're in space, you may fall in love. You may have babies. You may have relationships. You may get into wars. You may get into et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All of those things effectively remain constant, regardless of whether you were in the, 1900s or whether you're here today. No, I agree with you. I also think film is a little bit different too, because music is a direct world that's being created. Where in film, you're doing somebody else's world. Mm-hmm. And music is it's like your own channel of sorts. No, I agree.
It's just not how you talk about no movies. I enjoy Stargate SG-1. Gerald Hammond has been gone now for 20 years. And just seeing his character just there on the screen, moving around, walking, talking, it's just there's no way this guy is gone, even though he actually is. Or an old book, the Iliad. I mean, Homer's been gone 3,000 years, and we still have his words, which to me is
and we
wild.
Still make their movies, right?
Yeah,
isn't that amazing?
Even bad ones.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah, no, it's so cool. I mean, it's a time machine, basically.
Yeah, because I'm reading On War by von Clausewitz.
So good.
I mean, if he's one of the people, if I ever had my way, if I ever had a wish, just sit in the room and just listen to him teach me something for an hour. Just sit at his feet and just take notes and just say, give me your knowledge. That's what I want. Yeah, I'm that kind of a nerd.
That is amazing, right? Just the study of war.
Well, because the study of war is not just about war, right? It's about conflict. It's about disagreement. It's about everything. All right, that's great.
It's always the same. Meaning whether you're talking about war on a larger scale or war between people, it's the same. The policies, the tactics, it's almost like there's one iteration of something that's derivatives of other things.
Have either one of y'all ever read the Strategikon? Maurice's Strategikon? No. I will send it to y'all. I've got the PDF. First, do you know what it is? First of all,
no. What is it called? Say it one more time.
Maurice's Strategikon. So he was a Eastern Roman emperor from about the 600s, and what he does, the Greeks have this really rich history of military manuals. They wrote everything down. And what's really cool about it, unlike Sun Tzu's Art of War, is that It described the tactics that you would use. It had detailed information about the enemies that the Romans are fighting at the time, like the Avars and the
Oh, I
Slavs,
see.
and how they lived and what clothes that they wore and what their tents looked like.
That's
And
cool.
talk about the Huns. I mean, it is wild. And then the best
What
way
is
to
it called?
deal
What's
with
his name again? Give me spell his name for me.
the Emperor Maurice, Maurice.
Oh, Emperor Maurice. Okay.
Yeah,
Emperor
and then the
Maurice.
book is called The Strategikon. I got the PDF. It's one of the books I gave Fang to
I gotta
study.
do. I can't read a book on PDF. I gotta have the paper.
Yeah, I need the book or I need the audio book.
Yeah, for sure.
It's gonna
But
I've gotten
it's
late.
all available. But I'm talking about a snapshot in history.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the most detailed one. Like talks about the best way to deal with these groups and how to position your troops and how they should look, because it's all about, because you got to keep in mind the Eastern Roman Empire was at decline at this point.
Right.
And so it was more about bluff than was actually fighting. And it's like, so if you can get away with this without fighting, do it. And just describe just what each group, how they acted, what they looked like, what their cultures were, how to deal with them. Talk about the importance of being well-groomed and masculine. And that your scouts should always be handsome men, because if they ever get captured, they might, because these are buff warrior cultures. If
Makes
you're
me
able
horny,
to,
Robbie.
it's wild, man.
This
Maurice's strategy
I'm not bothered.
It puts me in amount of the 300 on the movie version of it, where it's like these guys are out there like these supermen, and
Yeah.
I remember one of the
Which
historians was
they
like,
were not. Which they were.
right, and the historian made that point of saying, obviously they're not fighting with their shirt off, right?
Yeah.
Like they're not out
Yeah.
there with their chests
As
open.
much armor as possible, right? Yeah.
Yeah. It's God, man, that stuff is fascinating.
I mean, the thing is, that movie's interesting, right? It's. I think it's an example of a good bad movie.
So good.
Worth
You think
seeing.
it's bad? I think it's fantastic.
It's
Why do you think it's bad?
actually a good bad movie. In other words, it's a movie I could watch over and over, but it's not a good movie. I mean, it's historically fucked up.
It's a comic book.
No, they're not going for history, right?
It's CGI, like way up. I don't like that much CGI. It's like ridiculous. It makes my eyes.
Well, obviously the Persians didn't have like
Ogres.
goons. Like the immortals weren't really immortal, right? Like they weren't these goblin-faced things that were coming out.
Right.
And Xerxes wasn't.
The real
10
story
feet tall.
is actually more interesting. And
Have you ever read Herodotus? I know we got a show to do, but have you ever read Herodotus' The Histories?
Of course, yeah.
So, like, when he described,
I know of it.
so when he described the immortals marching against the Persians, so just think about it, you have 10,000 men marching at you in total silence.
Freaky.
Talk about a mind screw. And then you have the Spartans just right there, just yelling and screaming. I'm cussing them out. Literally called them you fuckers of your own mothers, just insulting them. And these guys just marching, just single file salt and total silence.
You're too young to remember the Carol. You both are too young to remember the Carol Burnett show. But that
I remember the Carol Burnett show.
that evokes. Do you remember the "Look for the Union Label" skit where there's so there was this song, right, that like was always like labor unions would run on TV like for ads. It was like, "Look for the union label, the union label." And so the brilliance of Carol Burnett, and by the way, anyone who thinks that comedy is funny now, just go back and look at the Carol Burnett
Yeah,
show.
she was great.
Because
She was great.
if you're lucky, there's one SNL skit like every 2-3 weeks that you might want to watch, maybe.
Well, the old Eddie Murphy ones were really good.
Carol Burnett show, you watch the whole thing. It's all great, right? So
Yeah.
Anyway, the thing is, so the union label skit, it's just like a bunch of workers and they're like marching like in the ad, and then the camera pans out and they're all just marching, and then you see the soundstage and they're like walking through like the set design and knocking into the cameraman. Because it captures the relentlessness of the song, right? That's the joke. It's just like, look, nothing gets out of look for. Anyway, just the idea of an army walking toward you, just like menacingly, like in It Follows, where it's just like,
God, man, just it's so different. Like it's like people who live like 100 years old. Like you could think of there was no TV, there was no airplanes,
right?
There was no nuclear bombs. There was no, like, you can go down the list, no satellites, no et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Right? Like no one. Rich people didn't have TV. No one.
Yeah, it's just wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
different.
I mean,
By the way,
I mean,
SNL.
when I was a kid, I'm 62, right? When I was a kid, when my mom would send me to my dad's house in Wisconsin, I grew
Yep.
up in Ohio, for like summer visitation for 2 weeks. The idea that I would call her was completely out of the question because it was so expensive, right, to call from Wisconsin to Ohio.
Right.
So she gave me airmail stamps for my wallet and airmail, domestic airmail, right?
Right.
Those were the fast ones that it took like 3 days instead of like 7. And then
Uh-huh.
you just, if you have a problem with your dad, you mail me a letter. That's 1973, right? I mean,
And now they're cell phones.
yeah, now you just drop, it's free. I can call my friend in Afghanistan for free on WhatsApp or whatever. It's amazing.
It's like I have a speaking stone that I can use to throw my voice into the air, and someone else catches it on the other end.
It's
And in the
crazy.
60s, they would be like, that's just magic. That doesn't exist.
I mean, just think about how crazy it is. I mean, flying, so basic and so recent, so new. Anyway, I mean, there are people a lot who are alive, who were born right now, who were born just a couple of years after Kitty Hawk, right? I mean, it's crazy. Anyway, we have a lot to talk about. The segue I was going to say between Robbie's mention of various books, classic books about war, works very well with today's topic. Donald Trump has decided to re-engage his inner warmonger on both the Iranian and Ukraine fronts. He was hanging out at NATO, had a little side meeting with Zelensky. Up until now, the U.S. has refused to allow Ukraine to have Patriot missile interceptors, but now that's going to change, and they're going to also the U.S. will buy drones from Ukraine. That's interesting. And then also the United States and Iran and the Gulf states are back at it. Jordan is catching some missiles. They're all over the Middle East. All of you, Kuwait, and etc. And basically, it all seems to boil down to the Strait of Hormuz.
Of course.
This sort of the disagreement, right, which was originally in the memorandum of understanding. You and I both.
Things don't matter.
And basically, the U.S. agreed, like, you guys get to control the Strait of Hormuz for at least, you control it. The Iranians took that to mean we control it. And then a couple of ships, obviously with U.S. encouragement, tried to slip past. The Iranians were like, well, we're not letting you do that. So the U.S. is like, oh, you're starting something. You didn't reopen the Strait of Hormuz, which actually traffic is still, even currently, 50% higher than normal. I mean, 50% more than it was before the memorandum was signed. So but anyway, we're back at war. The ceasefire is dead. Netanyahu is celebrating. I mean, the war industrial complex is doing great. Republican politicians are shitting bricks because this war is incredibly unpopular. 87% of Americans do not approve of this going on.
Just wait. Just wait. They haven't seen nothing.
Though. I mean,
they haven't seen nothing yet.
You can't get 87% of Americans to agree on anything. So, I mean, that's amazing.
Speaking of
I would wager that number will go up.
Oh,
they haven't seen anything yet. They disapprove in conscience and in essence. They are going to disapprove in fact when the reality of the inventory losses finally hit, and no jawboning from Trump will save it.
No,
I don't think look, the reason why I kept saying this war wasn't over and kept saying this is still a war, that I didn't buy the ceasefire, didn't buy the memorandum of understanding, is because I've seen this before. Mm-hmm. I've seen Joe Biden or Donald Trump try to run the document which path to Persia, where they explicitly talk about trying to put this stuff on Israel, acting as if this is Israel that's doing it, that this is not the U.S. hand in it. They try to create some disambiguation between Israel and the U.S. in rhetoric, not in fact, that Israel still is doing U.S. policy. It was U.S. policy for Israel to invade and occupy Lebanon before the war. Why would it be different during the war? It's not. Hence, the deal that the U.S. effectively pushed its puppet government to make in order to make sure Israel stays in Lebanon and even get the government to give this kind of approval of it, despite the fact it's a puppet government. They did it in order to try to carve off Lebanon from the conflict, to make it as if, well, Lebanon agreed to this, in which case Iran's thing doesn't apply, meaning it was always a violation of the agreement from day one. The memorandum was always going to be violated. It was only a stopping measure. It was a stopgap in order to let the U.S. get time to fill up the coffers of oil and energy and everything else. The problem is Iran controls the strait. Donald Trump is too hubristic to allow that to pass. And so when Iran fires at ships with the U.S. trying to get rid of Iran's leverage, because keep in mind, that's what this is about, right? That the U.S. went for a war to destroy the state of Iran. That failed. Iran took war booty, the war booty being the Strait of Hormuz, and has used that as leverage, as an economic weapon against the United States. The U.S. is trying to find a way around and to mitigate that weapon by effectively trying to work with Oman to get ships to go through a specific corridor that the U.S. believes they can defend. The idea being, if we can get ships through the corridor, we've eliminated Iran's leverage with the Strait, and we can now attack Iran directly without Iran being able to have any kind of direct compensation.
Totally.
I don't know if the U.S. cares about its bases all that much. I just don't. I don't like, meaning between Iran losing human beings with the U.S. murdering people versus Iran hitting U.S. bases and trying to have this moral war where they don't go after infrastructure and those type of things and people and trying to keep a low body count and everything else. I don't know if the U.S. cares. So I don't know if these are equal exchanges in that sense. For as long as Iran keeps this kind of tit for tat stuff, I don't know if that's an equal exchange. My point is, I didn't think this war was going to end anytime soon.
You were definitely right about that. I give you full props and credit on that.
Thank you for that, Ted. I appreciate that.
No, it's true. I was wrong. You were right. It's not the first or last time that'll happen. I guess one thing is like, okay, so let's look at the military side of this. I mean, the United States struck, according to Central Command, struck 90 targets that they said were drone and missile launchers that threaten shipping in the Strait of Hormuz in Iran. My opinion is, given the length of Iran's, the capacity of Iran's medium distance, what's the word? I'm like, range missiles. Medium range missiles can be launched from anywhere inside Iran, not just along the Strait of Hormuz. And so unless you're willing to launch a land invasion of Iran with about 1 million troops, and
which would be suicide. That would be suicide, by the way.
It would be suicide, and not to mention, there aren't 1 million troops. We have about 200,000, and they would be doing nothing else. It would be Canada's big chance to invade while we were all over there. So like, it's just not possible. So unless you're willing to do something that is impossible, you can't. There's nothing you can do. And like, yeah, they say, well, we can degrade Iran's capacity. You've already degraded Iran's capacity, and you can keep degrading. But this is Zeno's paradox. You will never actually get there, right? You can't finish the job ever. Yeah. So, I mean,
what's the point? What's the point of the question?
Yeah, that's my question. The question is, does Trump know this? And then another question is, psychologically, I mean, never have we had a president we needed to analyze psychologically more than Donald Trump. I mean, the man is like, okay, this is a big question that people keep asking. And what is wrong with him? Like, in other words, what is wrong with him that he is so erratic that sometimes he seems willing to make peace and hates war and hates destruction and conflict, and other times he's recklessly willing to risk everything and blow up the entire fucking world? I mean, it's like there's two different Donald Trumps at least. It's like what the fuck is wrong with him?
I don't think he's that complicated, to be honest. I mean, narcissism, hubris, American exceptionalism, those are the front things on a president's mind, especially a president like this. There's a reason that Trump didn't leave the war in Ukraine. He could have. He didn't, because they would have said Trump lost it. Trump failed. This is America. Meaning Trump has this idea of American exceptionalism fused with his narcissism. So the idea that he's fighting a regional actor and the regional actor wins.
Talks to, like, you know what I mean? Like, is it just the fact that he's also surrounded by people who say things like, They asked Nixon who lost China. They're going to say who lost Ukraine. Is it
Probably, yes.
There's no one else.
And he probably has this inflated idea of American power, that American power can do anything. Look, I hate the fact that we are in this bombing thing. I love the fact that we are about to be inflicted with a strategic defeat, because I want the American public to kind of see we fucked up. We keep going to other countries, murdering and killing people. And when we ran up against a buzzsaw, we couldn't do it, and we are paying the consequences for it. I just saw the thing about the fuel tap, basically the strategic fuel reserve. We are at the bottom because Donald Trump has been putting that stuff out like water for the last 3 or 4 months in order to bring down the price of fuel artificially, not to mention voicing. By the same token, though, the reason that he signed the MOU hasn't changed. Meaning, it's not like in this month we're flush with oil and gas. That's not the case at all. And in fact, people were even making the argument from the right how dumb this was, because, as they point out, Iran got nothing out of the deal. Short of the sanctions being relieved, Iran got nothing out of it. So the U.S. was able to widen the amount of energy and everything else that was coming out without really giving Iran what it was supposed to get under the memorandum. It was dumb. Mm-hmm. We are still in the same situation that we were a month ago when we were running out of fuel and energy. And so he has reignited this war, tore the memorandum of understanding. And the situation and the reason that he signed it hasn't changed. This is going to be a disaster. Mark my words. I could be wrong.
On this point, we're not going to have, there's no space between us at all. Comments. Where the gopher tortoise roam, Trump will have announced victory and restarted the war by the time y'all gate on top.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yep. He has to. He's an American president. Meaning, he has really internalized this idea. I remember when John F. Kennedy was talking about going to the moon, Kennedy was like, well, the Soviets are ahead of us on this technology. And I listening to that, I was like, whoa, he admitted that. They would have never admitted shit like that today. And Trump would never admit he failed, he lost, and everything else. And I think what bugged him is that the media and everything else was reporting it as he lost. And even in Israel, when they asked, what do you think? We lost. Mm-hmm. So I think all of that stuff ranks.
82% of Israelis say that they lost. John Rockefeller, did y'all see that Bibi is now saying that Iran has chemical weapons and must be stopped? It's fucking hilarious. In the Iran-Iraq war, it was U.S.-backed Saddam Hussein that fired chemical weapons at Iran. Yes. They fell short into Kurdish territory, and that was part of the brief against Saddam. That he gassed his own people. Well, he was actually trying to gas other people, but it's like give it up. No one's listening to Bibi, except maybe Trump. Manchild, thanks for the $2. The return to the Iran war is a Hollywood producer's nightmare, a catastrophic sequel, slump of bloated costs, fractured alliances, and zero strategic purpose, proving that some franchises should never reboot.
Here's the thing. I don't know if it's Iran. The U.S. is not giving this up. If you're a chess player and you're a much stronger player and you're playing somebody who's weaker than you, even if they have an advantage, you're not giving up the game, because from your point of view, they're weaker. They're ultimately going to fuck up, and you're going to be able to capitalize on their mistakes. And you can make an argument that going into a peace trap was a mistake by Iran. Meaning, if you've noticed, the United States moved the goalposts into now saying, well, the document says that we can defend shipping. Okay, the document doesn't say that, but it doesn't stop the U.S. from claiming, well, the document says we can do so-and-so. And they can now quibble over the Strait of Hormuz, whereas before it just gave space, it gave time for the U.S. to come up with a new strategy in order to deal with Iran. They are not going to want to allow Iran to hold the strait. The rub is escalation. And how far can you go up the escalation ladder before you get to the point of blowing up oil and gas infrastructure all across the world? That's a question for the U.S. How far do you want to push this? Do you really want to push Iran where they're blowing up, sanitation factories, where they're blowing up oil and gas infrastructure in Saudi Arabia, Qatar, et cetera, et cetera? How far do you want this to go?
And they're going to fuck shit up in Israel even more.
Yeah, at some point. Yeah. So it's like, how far do you want to take it? That's the question. And that's a question for Trump. And how long can you go without oil going through the Strait of Hormuz.
I mean, that's the thing is, it's like, I mean, what this strikes me as is like, look, Donald, you lost. Fucking admit it. You know, do you remember that show Tales from the Dark Side?
Oh, absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
there's an episode called A Case of the Stubborns. And it's this old man who's, it's a family who lives in the middle, in the country somewhere. And basically, the old man dies. The grandpa dies. But he's such a stubborn bastard. He won't.
They did.
So he's like covered with flies and parts of his face are falling off into his, as he walks around. It was like, Grandpa, you're dead. You gotta like stop. And that's what Donald Trump is. He's like, dude, your war died. Your country is dying. It may be dead already. It's like, you are dead. Your presidency is dead. Your party is dead. You lost this war. Donald Trump has a case of the stubborns. He just can't fucking accept it. He starts to accept it. Okay, we got to make peace. We got to make peace. And then it's like, shit, I wish I hadn't made peace. Like, it's so humiliating. Fuck. And that's, I mean, he's insane. Okay. Chandler Morris, 89.59. Thanks for the $5. Have you seen about the teenager in Chattanooga, Tennessee, who used the sex offender registry to find, murder, and dismember a local sex offender?
What?
Story here. I did follow this story. It's exactly what happened. Basically, he was an 18-year-old kid. He said that he had been victimized by pedophiles as a child. So he decided to look this guy up. He looked for sex offenders near him. He looked in the Tennessee Sex Offender Registry, found that this dude had molested a kid back in 2003. So he said, I love this. This is such a great quote. I walked through the woods to the back of his house, and I went and killed him with a hammer. He wouldn't die, so I kept hitting him with the hammer. He chopped the dude up with a saw, dumped the pieces in a dumpster, as one does, but they haven't found him, even though the dumpster stuff, the body is still MIA. So technically it's a missing persons case. But I'm actually surprised this kind of thing hasn't happened more. Look, here's my take. I'm against these sex registries, even though these people are living all around us, right? I mean, when I moved the first time out of New York City, I was like, I'm going to look up and see if anyone. And sure enough, there was some fucking classic sex offender who jumped out of a bush and like raped a little girl living like a block away from my house. So, on the one hand, I mean, but what do I do with that information? Like nothing, right? I mean, I feel like if that person is so dangerous that we all need to know about him, then he should still be incarcerated. If they're that dangerous, it's like it shouldn't be up to the community to be like thinking, oh, well, this, like what's next? Like, is every like financial offender like, oh, I better not, like if this, my neighbor down the street, if he comes around like looking to borrow my saw, I better not lend it to him because I see on the financial offender list that this guy's like a finance bro who like steals from people. I mean, like what's next? Everybody's got something. So I'm like, I feel like you do your time and then you're free to go. You don't have to tell a boss or if you're too dangerous to be released, then don't release you.
But see, what about a murderers list? Should people who committed murders be also on a list?
Again, I would say, well, first of all, most people who kill someone never reoffend, right? It's not, right. Recidivism is very low for murderers. For the most part, it's usually like a crime of passion, like, someone, it's a friend or it's a, girlfriend or whatever, not to excuse it. But I'm just saying.
I think the issue with pedophiles is that they have a tendency to repeat.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, you served your time, but now we have a community issue.
Well, then
people and
give it more time, right? I mean.
Yeah, but if that's the case, they're going to be in jail forever because, again, they have a tendency to repeat. They have a high recidivism on
If only there was a solution. If only there was a solution to this problem.
Oh, Robbie.
Yeah, God says murder a sex offender. I can't believe for a moment that Christianity would be okay with that, or maybe they are. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question, right? Like, there's this guy with a big beard who came down from a mountain with a tablet that had some rules on it,
Not murder.
and that guy, the rules they were pretty clear. You know, you're not. It didn't say thou shalt not kill except pedophiles.
Yeah.
But you got to remember, there's the civil law, which is law of governance. That's what Deuteronomy and Leviticus cover. And then there's the individual laws, which are the 10 Commandments. Like, for example, a government cannot worship another god. So y'all are conflating the 10 Commandments.
No, I'm not saying anything about the law. I'm saying that like Christians should be against killing.
Christians are against killing. We are not against justice. There's a difference with if someone rapes or someone commits murder.
If killing is part of that justice, then that's a violation.
It's very nebulous. I don't know what that means.
I just explained it to you. So
no. What do you mean? I don't know what the word means in that case. Meaning your sense of justice is going to be different than mine.
Thou shalt not kill is really unambiguous.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like I can't go and kill someone because they pissed me off. They cut in line.
You can't kill them at all for any reason, right?
But now government though.
You can even kill them in self-defense according to the 10 Commandments.
No, because if you don't provide for your house, you're worse than an infidel. And Jesus himself said, if you don't have a sword, go sell your cloak and buy one. He also said, I didn't come to bring peace, but a sword. So, I mean, you really need to pick up. You need to start reading your Bibles, Ted, if you're going to start debating me on this, because you have no idea what you're talking about. You can rock my world when it comes to communism. In this case, you are woefully ill-equipped, sir.
we can have it out. Well, okay. All right.
I don't want to kill pedophiles. By the same token, it's a dilemma for the state, because the state is kind of like, okay, we're letting these people out because they served their time. All right, but these people have
it's expensive to hold them. I mean, I think what the state is doing is outsourcing their responsibility to keep society safe to people who look at a website, and that just doesn't seem right.
But what are they supposed to do? If it seems like not having a registry is worse.
I mean,
I don't necessarily want to move near a sex offender.
No, I know, I hear you, but let's say someone's a child molester, right? And they did it repeatedly, and like they get out and then they do it again to your kid. I mean, the state did that to your kid. They let this person out and they let your kid get raped. I mean, it's like they shouldn't have let him out. If they thought there was a really good chance that this guy would reoffend, they shouldn't let him out.
But then we're either at the Robbie solution or keeping him in jail forever.
Keep him in jail forever. I mean, what else?
That's expensive.
Oh, I mean, so send Zelensky less money, right?
Especially in school. I mean, seriously,
allowance, right? Sorry, Zionists.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, but no, guillotining somebody, like, you don't have to use a 9mm. Just use a guillotine. It's ecologically sound. They'll make the tree huggers happy. No problem.
Just guillotine part of their anatomy,
and
like a very small guillotine.
No, but the point that I'm trying to make is that it's a lot more cruel, in my opinion, to keep someone in a cage forever than it is to give them a speedy departure from this life.
However, if that's really, I mean, I used to think that, but then I think about all the prisoners who spend years in court trying to get their sentences commuted from death to life without parole. So obviously there's something to life in prison.
Yeah. I mean, you can make a life in prison, worse come to worse. It's much of a hellhole it is. But
yeah.
Okay.
I never pronounced this name correctly. Anamandaraki. Israel and Ukraine are both run by crazy Zionist Jews. That's why the U.S. and EU will support it to the end, or I should say.
Well, Nazis and Jews. And, Nazis and Zionists. There's a difference.
Yeah, Nazis and Zionists are close buddies. And don't forget, Nazis loved Zionism, right? They cooperated with Zionists in the 1930s in Germany.
And they act just alike.
Yeah.
They act very similar. I mean, like if you go to Nazi Germany and you look at what they were doing with
racial supremacists.
Yeah.
They're racial supremacists.
Yeah. One is, yeah.
So let's see. Okay, Marie-Laure, now as to how patriotism, a narcissist, Shirley believes Trump is patriotism incarnate, but does he understand the abnegation that comes with? Certainly not. He's too absorbed.
Yeah, I think he's too self-absorbed, and I think this idea of America, he feels that he's at the head of an empire, and an empire shouldn't necessarily have to subject itself to the whims of others. I mean, if you look at the way he acts towards Europe or acts towards other countries in general, it's very dismissive. It's like, we're America, we can do anything. And he is going to run against hard limits in Russia and in Iran.
Yeah. We have two bloodthirsty fans here. We still love you. Ryan Newton, 100% with Robbie on this. I support the death penalty for pedos and rapists in general. And Mr. A. Lee, trafficking people gets you death too.
I mean,
we already have a declining birth rate. I mean, no one's going to be left soon.
I guess my thing is, I was a victim of sexual assault, and even I don't want people murdered for that. So I don't know.
I mean,
I don't know what solution.
Look, these people that you describe, assuming that we know that they're guilty, do they deserve death? 100%, they deserve death. A lot of people deserve death, but I don't think the state should be in the business of killing them. And I don't know if people, because I think the state should set the highest standard for behavior, and murder is literally the lowest standard of behavior. And so, it's just for that reason alone. Not to mention, the state doesn't get this right way too often.
They fuck it up often.
So
they fuck it up often. I mean, look, if it was somebody in my family, yes, I would want death. I don't give a shit who it is in my family.
And I would say, if I were on a jury and you came before me, you were accused of taking vengeance on someone who killed a member of your family, you're
going to go free.
I'm going to throw this jury, right? You're going to walk. But I don't want the state to kill them. It's just not the same. This is where Sharia law is better. If someone's murdered, they go to the survivors, their family, and they say okay, so, hey lady, this guy killed your husband. What do you want us to do? And she can say or she can say let him go, or she can say something in between hey, I've lost my financial partner and this guy's come work on my farm and whatever. He has to give me 50 goats. They decide. That makes sense to me. That's closer to justice than having some fucking government employee who doesn't give a shit about the whole thing, is not vested, and they're little lethal injection, and then clock out. I mean, I hate that.
I don't know. I don't know if I want the family to be. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just imagine a situation where the person is rich, kind of like Michael Jackson paying off the victim by $20 million.
Well, yeah.
They have to make a law saying, okay, you can't pay the victim off and shit.
But that's not really quite the same thing. It's not it's not like the
person who's rich able to get around the system because of their wealth. And I guess my thought is, in that situation, if we had something like that, that will happen a lot. Meaning the rich would be able to get away with all sorts of shit and wouldn't necessarily have to pay stuff.
They do.
Yeah. I mean, they do now, but it will be explicit in those terms. I could be wrong. I don't know.
No, I mean, that's a very good point. John D. Cockefeller, if Ted doesn't think the state should be in the business of killing people, I think we should revisit the Alien versus Predator initiative. Green cards for immigrants, fewer sex offenders, win-win. I don't know what the Alien versus Predator thing is, and I saw the movie. I don't.
Is he talking about the movie? I don't know if that's a real thing. I'm assuming he's talking about the movie, but I don't know.
I don't know. Whatever. Okay. Man-child, let him get shower raped a few times before Bubba comes at him with a shiv. Thanks for the $1. Yeah, I mean, look, I was attacked by a sexual predator when I was 12. I mean, so really? I have no sympathy either. It was extreme. I'm lucky. I mean, it didn't. I escaped. But it was a very very close call, and it's and there was no one you could turn to, no one who would believe you. I didn't tell my mother at the time because I knew she wouldn't believe me, and
really?
She did. And then I told her when I was in my 40s, and she's like, you're just lying. I'm like, why would I lie about this now? I'm in my 40s, and the dude who was involved is dead, right? Like, why would I lie about this?
Why did she think you were lying? See, that's
Well,
so
so what
funny to
happened
me.
was my mom got me this is like classic. My mom wanted me to work. We were from a very poor family. She found me a job assisting the janitor at my school. So he was an old creepy dude in his 60s. I was in 7th grade. And so the job was to clean blackboards after school, wash them down. Nobody ever thinks about this, right? Like you come into a classroom in the morning and the chalkboard is all clean. Well,
Yeah.
I was the guy who went around with a bucket and a sponge and cleaned off the chalkboards. So anyway, it's just me and that dude in that empty fucking junior high school, right? Dwight L. Barnes Junior High School. So I'm there working one day, and he waited, I think, a few weeks before he made his move. And he comes up behind me and grabs me, pins my arms to my side, and I could feel his dick getting hard in the center of my back. And he starts like whispering in my ear, like, "Oh, you don't have a dad. I can be your dad. You trust me, don't you?" Horrible. And I'm like terrified, of course. And I mean, I was also a small 12-year-old, right? I mean, I was small for my age. And anyway, he's like, "If I let you go, you won't do anything, you won't yell." I'm like, yeah, I won't. And of course, the second he let me go, I'm looking at that door, right? I'm looking at the doorknob, and I'm just like bounded out, like sort of like when a cat jumps out of your arms. I like bounded for the door, hit that door, ran down the fucking, as fast as my feet could carry me, out the fucking fire escape, down the second floor out into the sunny day, ran all the way home. And I told my mom that I'd been fired by the guy. And she was like, so the reason she thought I was lying, she was like, "You didn't want that job. You're just lazy. You don't want to work."
Yeah,
Like,
but that's a hell of a thing to lie about. I mean, did you have a habit of lying to your mom about shit? Was she? That's a hell of a thing to lie about. He tried to rape me,
my mom
and your
turned
mom
me
was like,
into
"You just don't want the job."
my mom turned me into a pretty good liar because she was the kind of person who would basically freak out no matter what. So if you lied,
Right.
you had a good chance of getting away with it and not having to hear any shit. So I was 12. I lied all the time,
But that's a hell of a lie.
but I didn't. Yeah, but I mean, yeah.
I mean, I didn't tell till I was 24, and I was in the hospital when I told. And my mom was just kind of like, "Really?" Now, at the time, I was very ill, and I was like on my deathbed, and so she wasn't sure if. Well, it wasn't that I was making it up. I think for her thing, she wasn't sure if it was just delirium or something like that. It was like after the fact, where she was like, "Is that real?" I was like, "Yeah, that happened for real." He's already in prison, and he is going to have a very miserable life in prison, not for pedophilia, but for other shit that he did.
Good.
He's going to be there for the rest of his life.
Good.
But yeah, I can't believe your mom thought you were lying about that. That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, nobody believed kids back then. Like now, they believe kids automatically, almost to a fault. But like no, I mean, like I had a teacher, driver's ed, Fairmont West High School. My friend, I remember this vividly. We were in the driver's ed parking lot in a Chrysler K car, which dates the story. And so there's the driver's ed instructor. There's me and my best friend Steve in the back seat, and then there's a girl, one of our classmates, who's in. I remember she's sitting in the front seat driving. He's got the special brake, right? Like the
Right, where you pull on the passenger side, right?
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, lap belts were brand new. I mean, shoulder harnesses were new at that time. So he's like, "Let me show you how to use the shoulder harness." It's like not exactly. So he reaches over her and then just does this sort of creepy, like across her breasts and feels her up in front of us.
What?
And she's frozen. I'm shocked. I'm like just frozen. And Steve, to his eternal credit, just starts screaming, right? Like, "What the fuck is wrong with you? Dirty old man, disgusting, blah, blah, blah." Like he used to do this shit all the time. So we went to complain to the principal. He's like, "That's ridiculous. That's never heard anything like that." Total lie. He was accused of this kind of shit every year for years. They just didn't care. And like basically the principal like threw us out of his office. They didn't care. I remember telling my mom, she didn't believe. Steve's dad didn't believe. Nobody believed us. And then I got a D in driver's ed because it was hilarious. I had A pluses in every subject except fucking driver's ed. And so I didn't graduate with a 4.0 because of that class. I go to complain to the teacher, and he goes, as far as I'm concerned, you're a very dangerous driver. You really shouldn't drive. But I can't.
Is that what he said?
He goes, I can't fail you because you did all the work. But I would fail you. Such a bastard.
That is amazing.
Such a bastard. And shit like that was always going on. You know, it's like when I was growing up. I mean, I could go on and on. We could do an entire bonus Rumble episode of just corruption around my childhood.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It does give a worldview, though.
It's true. It's true.
Informative.
Here we go. Schizo, thanks for the $2. State-sponsored killing already exists through euthanasia and abortions. Why is the death sentence any different? Look at Canada. Where's the line drawn? Okay, so first of all, in both cases of euthanasia and abortion, the state's not carrying them out. The state legalizes it and but it's other entities who carry it out, right? That is different.
Yeah, people are making a choice as opposed to the state making a choice. I got to be honest, the euthanasia thing in Canada is all fucked up. I mean, they are effectively incentivizing people to kill themselves because they are either poor, they don't want to be a burden on their family, they don't want to be a burden on the state, they're lonely, they're depressed. Any of those reasons the person can off themselves. That's so fucked up. I mean, meaning basically, I don't have money, so I'm just going to do this. And the state is like, hey, that's great.
That happened, and also it's like people are killing themselves because they're psychologically depressed. I mean, so I was friends with a very famous writer for the Village Voice, and she recently, a few years ago, she went to Europe and had herself killed because she was depressed. And basically, the reason she was depressed was because she was a lesbian, and she was kind of never comfortable with being a lesbian. She kind of still liked guys. But basically she was very butch. So she had a lot of sexual identity issues. And she was a wonderful writer, a brilliant person, really funny. I miss her. And I'm pissed off that the Scandinavians are like, yeah, you can just kill yourself, even though there's nothing wrong with you physically or anything. This is like a thing now. It's like, yeah.
And the state is okay with it because that's one less person that the state has to effectively take care of.
Totally. Yeah, and they get the free organs. It's a win-win. It's beautiful.
And I would imagine you have to pay for it.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's disgusting. Truly. So the children. I mean, that's the thing. Like when all the child predator stories started coming out, I remember thinking like, yeah, I believe that. I think that's true. I mean, on another occasion, someone tried to kidnap me. So I mean, like. Walking down the street in a park, college age kids try to like lure me to their car. Hey, little kid, want $1? Like that. Classic. It's like inflation, man. It's going to cost you 10.
You want $1? Want some ice cream?
Yeah, literally, that's what it is. And John D. Cockfeller said. Strangers. Hey, John D. Gottfeller said, I was molested by an adult who told me his dick tasted like cotton candy. I was a fat little kid. So telling me it tasted like something sweet was an S-tier move. I was dumb and fat. He knew his prey well. Ooh. Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know. I don't think I would buy the whole cotton candy.
Plus, God.
That would have never.
I hope he's joking. I don't mean to laugh. I'm sorry. I hope he's joking.
I think
my dick tasted like cotton candy, and he was a fat kid, so he was like, "Okay, let me try it." Really, he has to be joking.
Has to. Well, I don't know. Yeah, you tell us, JD.
Johnny Cockefeller, please tell me you're joking on that.
Yeah, please.
That puts me in the mind of like the comedian. Oh, what is his name? Where he said when he was 9, he was molested by a guy with Down syndrome, and the people in the room started laughing, and he was like, "What are you laughing for? What are you laughing for?" He's like, I'm trying to be vulnerable and you guys are attacking me for it. It feels like one of those type of comments. My dick tastes like cotton candy.
that's the thing that's like so interesting, right? Like this, it's almost like a Moth Story Hour thing. He said, "No, not joking." Laugh, LMAO. Well, I mean, that's the thing. Is like horror often has like a seriously absurd component to it, even when you're going through it. I mean, when my mom was dying, my mom, she was always like me. Us Rawls are very thirsty people, literally thirsty. Always need more water, right? You see me on the show, I'm always drinking something. And I went to see her at the nursing home, and she was like, water, water. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Can you hydrate her? Can you give her, some saline? And so the woman's like, has this look, this nervous look. She's like, hold on. So obviously they had decided not to. They were going to basically let my mom die of thirst because she wasn't eating by this point. So this is the thing is a lot of these like nursing homes, like the nurses are angels of death. They decide like this person's, it's their time. If you're not there as a relative to like look out for them, they'll kill your relative. And I don't even know why, because they're getting paid. I don't get it at all. But maybe that person's got to be too much of a pain in the ass, or it's like sort of like it's a power trip. But they do this. And so
it's because they need the bed for the next patient. Back when I worked for the hospital, I saw things like all the time with hospice. So basically, you have a finite number of beds. And so it's all about, they call it turnover. They literally call it turnover. That's what it is. And it's disgusting. And those people who did this to your mom, they would be on the list of Robbie's 9mm solution because they are murderers.
On that. And so anyway, so speaking of the absurdity, right? So, I used to go check on her all the time. I mean, and so anyway, so she's like, hold on. So she picks up the phone and she's on speaker and she calls up the boss and she's like, hey, Mrs. Rall, blah, 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 blah. There's a request to hydrate her. And she's like, no. And then she goes, the nurse goes, the son is here. And then she's like, there's a long pause. And it's like, oh, okay, I'll be right down. She comes down and she's like, well, like they don't really need and I'm like, no, my mother's thirsty. She's asking for water. She's thirsty. Hydrate her now. And it was like, okay. I mean, I'm sorry to be inconveniencing you. And as Robbie said, I totally believe Robbie, that, I'm fucking up your agenda, but and you need this bed, whatever. But yeah, it's disgusting. It's murder. These nursing homes are murdering people. These people should all be sent to prison for the rest of their life.
The problem is, when my grandmother got ill, it became clear that there's very few faculties for people who are older. And for families who are trying to care for those people that are older, they are royally fucked.
I was paying top dollar for this shit, too.
Well, we were paying for nurses in order to take care of my grandmother. And it's like, you don't really get help from the state, not in any real terms.
No, nothing.
And even like hospice and those type of things are limited.
$5,000 a year out of pocket.
Yeah, that's kind of my point. Most people can't afford to pay $600 if their car broke down, let alone $5,000 a year.
Oh, I couldn't afford it. I mean, I could not, obviously. Who can afford that, right? I mean, I was a fucking cartoonist, in a dying journalism world. So yeah, but I mean,
and by the way, that's hospitals too. You shouldn't let people go to hospitals by themselves if you can help it. They're going to fuck those people over if those people can't defend themselves.
Yeah, you need an advocate. Yeah,
you need an advocate.
At bare minimum, you got to pop in. You got to be there frequently.
There has to be an advocate, or you need to be an asshole when you're dealing with the people who are around you, because they will fuck you over. It's those nurses are not your friends.
No,
I know they think they are, but they're not. They're minions of the doctor and whatever the medical staff is. They will fuck you over royally the moment that the doctor tells you to do so. And so, agreed. You have my agreement on all this.
And I remember just thinking how absurd it was. I'll never forget it. The sun is here. In other words, shit, we can't murder Yvonne Rall today. God damn it, the sun's here. Why is he here? That fucking cartoonist, what an asshole.
You can't get him to die of thirst. You
Yeah.
can't see our agenda.
I mean, honestly,
I mean, by the way, they would use
Sure.
morphine also.
you
with
want to kill
stuff
someone
like
with.
that. Morphine. They would use different things.
I mean, seriously, if you want to just start murdering old people, then shoot them or decapitate them or something. Don't torture them to death by depriving them of water.
Like thirst. Yeah. I mean, give me morphine.
Yeah.
You just give me a lot of morphine. Let me go silently. I mean, look, if I am in a situation where I can't be me, fair enough. Like if I have some degenerative disease or something like that,
Sure.
old age should not be a reason to murder somebody. Right?
Single day.
Morphine cuts into your profits. You can't do that. Stuff's expensive.
That's
And
not
some-
right, right.
I'm telling you,
Right.
look,
We need a
listen,
cheap alternative.
back in my old job, I would read these reports every single day. And it's enough to make you hate our medical system even more than what I already did, because I was right on the back end reading all the reports. And what they do is that they deprive of liquids. It's not so much that you die of thirst, that it stresses the heart, you go to cardiac arrest. That's the goal. So that way on the death certificate, it's the natural causes, heart attack, or chalk up to dementia. And that's how they try to do it. That's what they do. And if you put a family member of yours that you love in one of these homes, just like what JT said, be there all the time, because those people are not your friends. They are there for
I
profit.
used to camp out, and it's funny when you go to those facilities, they have like a gym, they have all this shit that like these like areas that like supposedly the old people are using. They're never using them. You can just like bring your laptop. If you're a cartoonist, draw your cartoons there. That's what I used to do. I mean, you just work there. Like that's your new office.
That's wild. Yeah, that's why when people say you're not worried about the risks that you take when you go places and everything else, it's like, dude, everything dies. Everybody dies. And, I would rather take an L doing something I enjoy as opposed to taking an L laying in a bed, blind and at the whims of some rando that doesn't give a shit about me. Hell, for that matter, I don't want to die with a rando that does give a shit about me.
Right.
I hope you get my point, right? It's
Totally.
yeah. I those things, it just feels like hell.
Yeah, and by the way, this is like an insanely important political and social issue that no one ever fucking talks about, and it will affect everyone watching, right? I mean, everyone. And directly and indirectly, it'll affect someone it'll affect you, and we don't do shit about it. I mean, our political system is useless. Anyway, we're out of time. That's it for today's show. We're back tomorrow, 9 a.m. Hopefully it'll be a little cheerier, but I don't promise that.
This got morbid real quick.
Whatever, that's how it is. We'll be back tomorrow, Friday, July 10th, 9 a.m. Eastern Time. DMZ, not today. It's on a new time. It's on Fridays at 11, so tomorrow at 11 a.m. Stay tuned for TMI show coming up right now. Thanks, everyone, for joining us, and thank you for your support. Like, follow, and share. Don't forget. Okay, and if you're on Rumble, stay rated over to TMI, and please pipe in a chat. Okay, bye.
Have a good one.